Hi everyone, this is Amanda McGuire and this is my week 2 discussion board for MPA 530. For this week's discussion, we are reviewing the 2021 to 2022 California state budget. Looking at the governor's priorities in this budget, my focus is on the pandemic relief and climate change. There are 3 phases we're going to discuss for passing the budget, which are the proposed budget in January, the revised budget in May, and the final enacted budget that happens in the summer. So first, for the proposed budget, we have the pandemic relief of about $3 billion that was proposed. That included the Golden State stimulus package, giving $600 to lower income families, grants for small businesses and nonprofits, and fee relief for impacted industries such as restaurants and hair salons. And then we also have the climate change proposed budget of $1.5 billion that was specific to zero emission goals to be reached by 2035 and 2045, as well as a forest health and fire prevention strategy. As you can see in the revised budget that came in May, there were quite a few changes. For the pandemic relief, there was actually an expansion to the Golden State relief plan from just including the lower income classes to middle class families. So any family or household making under $75,000 a year would be eligible to receive the $600 plus an additional $500 for those that had a dependent. There was also an increase to the small business assistance to $1.5 billion, and in addition, there was an added $2 billion towards unpaid utility bills for those that had been home and not working, so they were unable to pay their bills. In addition to that, switching gears to climate change, their whole thing was rewritten to be from a focus on zero emission and fire prevention to actually an infrastructure plan for the next century, including a water and drought plan, sustainable agriculture, zero emission transportation for public transportation, a system, climate resilience, so an assistance program assisting those that are already affected by climate change, transportation, again with the zero emission there, and a rail line, as well as broadband, so an expansion of high-speed internet all over the state, so more access to that to help those that are working from home. And now looking at the finalized budget that has been the enacted budget this past summer for the pandemic relief, the Golden State stimulus package of the $600 per household for anyone under the income cap of $75,000 a year, a total of 5.7 million households were covered by this relief bill. That would be receiving either the 600 or the 600 plus the 500 if they have dependents in the household. In addition to that, the total for small businesses was 1.5 billion to assist them in keeping afloat during this time. 6.4 billion was given for unpaid rent relief, so anyone that was not working and relying on that moratorium on eviction for not being able to pay their rent. 6.4 billion was decided on in this budget to help pay for that for the property owners, and an additional 2 billion for unpaid utility debt. And then looking at climate change and the infrastructure there, 5.1 billion over the next 4 years to create a more drought resilient infrastructure to help with crops and that sort of thing as well, as just make sure that there's water for all areas of California, as we know is an issue. 2.7 billion toward clean transportation, 236 million was added for sustainable agriculture and to those farmers. $3.7 billion for the next 3 years for communities impacted by climate change today, specifically the desert areas and things like that where they're currently dealing with drought because of the heat or power outages and things like that. $812 million over the next 2 years for clean energy. $4.2 billion for transportation package. Again, this includes that high-speed rail system and clean energy using public transportation vehicles. And then finally, $6 billion to expand the high-speed broadband access across the state to reach those areas. And that's all I have for today. Thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a good week.